I love printing. I love printing. I love it. I love printing. Hey everybody, want to welcome you back to another edition of Printer to Printer with me, Warren Werbitt, also known as the Print Whisperer. Today, I've gone a little outside the world of print, but also very important because we are so connected to it now. I think everyone's connected to it. So today I have a great guest, and I know I always have to say special, but it is special today. We have Jessa from Familiarity. How are you?
Hello, Warren. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you. We met a couple weeks ago at the Imagine AI conference where Jessa got up on stage. And if I'm correct, it was for the first time you did some public speaking.
It was the first time I was on stage at a conference doing public speaking. Yes.
And you nailed it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm just going to let Jessa tell us a little bit about what she does and the platform that she's created, and then we'll go into some questions and answers. So go ahead, tell us.
Hey there, I'm Jessa. I am the founder of Familiarity. It is a community, a safe and respectful community for powerful and visionary women who love AI. And I have founded that on February 15th. It's just 6 weeks old. And women are joining daily and have kept me hopping. I also run a YouTube channel called I versus AI, and I share ChatGPT tips and tricks that no one else is talking about. I love AI. My first encounter with it was on August 1st, 2022, when I discovered Midjourney, which blew my mind, and it opened up my imagination and all the storytelling and stories I'd been telling for years in my head. I can now envision those characters and make any image I wanted. It was wonderful. And then I discovered ChatGPT in December, along with the rest of the world. And it was transformative. I was hooked. And I wanted to know everything about it. So I dove in. I started teaching myself everything I could about AI, about generative pre-trained transformers, about GPTs. And just now I'm asked it to teach me everything from, what is an API and how it works, to organizing my pantry, to helping me throw a dinner party for 35 people, 5 courses. I use it for all kinds of things.
It's amazing because at the conference, which was an amazing conference, and I would encourage everyone who's listening to me to go next year. I've never been to a conference where on the second day, the last speaker, the room is still full.
Mm-hmm. I was worried because I said, Steve, you put me like at the last day after the final break, the last like 3 people in there. And he said, no, you want to be last. You want to go last. There's still going to be people there. And I was surprised. There was a pretty full room when I went up on stage.
They even stayed after to talk in the halls and everything.
Afterwards, exactly. And the conference, Imagine AI Live, I'll just give a little plug for that. I'm on the founder team for that. So I helped one of the small group of people who helped pull it together. And Steve Metcalf, our CEO and co-founder, is fantastic. And he wasn't the third person I told about, the second person I told about Familiarity. First person was my husband. And then, and Steve was a great supporter of Familiarity. And it was really wonderful to see so many women at the conference. But we still have some work to do there because there were 35 speakers and only 3 of them were women.
Right. Even the audience, by the way, I was going to comment that, there was women, but it was still predominantly men.
It was. And that's just the tech industry. And I am basically the unofficial kind of woman advocate on the team. Steve is definitely wanting to have women there, but it's hard because it's just really difficult to find the women and connect with them. And that's one of the reasons why I built Familiarity.
And so that's a great segue in, because in the world of print, it's pretty much a male-dominated industry that's getting a lot better. And we have a few champions out there that are making a difference. And I'll give a plug out to Deborah Korn, who's got her Women in Print.
Hi, Deborah.
and that's kind of what got me when I saw you, and then I saw what you were doing. And I thought at the very least, I'd like to give you a platform to be able to speak about it and put it out there and encourage some other women to participate with you, because tech has been a lot of men, a lot of young guys in the basements working around the clock playing games and whatnot. But this whole AI thing is so much bigger than ChatGPT. And, one thing I heard at the conference was, if you're not using it today, tomorrow's too late.
That's very, very smart. Yes, that is true.
So you need to jump on. And I know that, I'm comfortable with it. I'm learning more every day. There's a few guys that I walked away with that were speaking there that have some YouTube channels like yourself that are pretty heavily in 200-300 videos deep. Started listening to some of those and realized, oh my, there's so much more for me to learn in my busy day to begin with, right?
That's a challenge. You've really hit on it, Warren. That's one of the biggest challenges with AI, is that we all have busy plates, full plates already. And then you want us to take an AI course or, 12 modules or, sit for 4 hours at a time trying to understand this AI. And so the key really is to come together in communities and help each other learn. That and because no one person can keep track of every single thing that's going on in AI unless that's all you do, and that is your job, or you're somehow independently wealthy or something like that.
Even if it's your job, you can't keep up.
You can't keep up, exactly, and it's just going to continue on, just going faster and faster.
Right. So everybody who's starting to learn, try to remember that so you don't get too frustrated, because it's moving that fast. I get a newsletter every morning, 3 of them. And they all have the latest updates and news. I just scroll over them because half is not that important. But it's like the .com, right? There's a lot of them out there. We'll see who's still here in 12 and 18 and 24 months.
Yeah, and the .com bubble, which I remember that whole phase, and everyone was founding this and doing that. And that's wonderful. That innovation is necessary. But it's very difficult to tell who's honest, who's telling the truth, and who's real, and who's teaching you something, or is it just more hype? So I really try and avoid the hype. On my YouTube channel, I talk about real things that you can do right now. Just like in the talk I gave at Imagine AI Live, I wanted people to be able to literally pick up their phones and try what I was telling them to do right then, new ways to think about the tools. And really, I'm focusing on keeping it simple, because there's a new tool coming out every day, and there's this and that, but do you really need them all? You don't. You really just need to just start with an LLM. Just pick one. Can be Google Gemini's new tool, can be GPT, can be Claude. You could even go open source, but that is a deep pool where you can get very, very lost in that pool. But if you're feeling brave, you can go open source as well too. And just start talking to the model and thinking of ways, use cases that you can do. And a lot of times when I tell people some of the things I do with ChatGPT, they say, I never even thought of that, because everyone's thinking about money, or work. How can it help me in work, or how can it help me make money? But it's also really just a true co-pilot in your life. So, for example, just a good example is I had a problem. My problem was that I was spending too much money on groceries. And
you and everybody else.
And everybody else, exactly. But yet the fridge was full with food. But when I wanted to have dinner, I was tired, like we all are. And I didn't want to mess around with all this food and what's going bad and what do I... So one day we cleaned out the fridge, and I thought, before I put these things back in the fridge, why don't I just go to ChatGPT and literally have a conversation with it? This was not typing. That's the number one tip I can give you about ChatGPT is talk to it, literally talk to it, because it's trained on conversations. It's not trained on prompts. ChatGPT is not trained on prompts. Prompts are what we use to talk to it, but what it has in its knowledge base, and I don't say actual knowledge base, its training data is the correct term, is conversations between humans. not humans prompting each other. I don't say, Warren, please write me a 5-point Discord, dissertation on X, Y, and Z. I don't speak to you like that. I say, hey, Warren. And you say, hey, Jessa. So that's how you talk to ChatGPT as well, too. And then I simply opened my fridge, and I said, before I put everything back in this fridge, ChatGPT, you and I, that's the key phrase there, you and I are going to work together on helping me save money on my groceries by finding out what I can use and when it's going bad. And I'd like you to create a table, and I'd like it to, include these other things. And one more tip about ChatGPT that I love telling people is very, very important. We don't know everything. We human beings are very limited in our brains in certain ways. And one of those ways is knowing every single thing that we could ask ChatGPT about the problem we have. Like, I'm spending too much money on my groceries. So I basically just said, hey, I'm doing this. And what questions do I need to think about? What can I include in this process of understanding, putting what's in the fridge and going bad? And it said, well, consider this and consider this. Oh, that's genius. So I added that in. And it made a table for me. And I literally my husband just handed me bottles. I said what it was, the expiration date, the amount, this kind of stuff, until I had a table neatly organized that showed exactly what was in my fridge, exactly what were in my shelves, and exactly what was in my freezer. It was pretty quick to do because I was talking to it. And then I said, hey, ChatGPT, so I need to eat, and we need to eat fast because we're hungry. We just spent all this time cleaning our fridge. So could you tell me, based upon what's going bad, what I need to make dinner with and what I need to make dinner with tonight? And then, by the way, could you make me a recipe? And while you're at it, could you read out the recipe step by step so that I say next and you give me the next step? And I say next and you give me the next step. And we ate like kings and queens that night on food that we did not have to go to a restaurant and get. And I continued to do that. And then I improved on it. And I said, at the store, I said, well, what about if I took pictures at the store of all the aisles, and I just uploaded those to ChatGPT, and I said, can you give me a map of my store? And it did. And then I said, now I've just run out of these things because they are expired and we just had, or expiring, and we just had them for dinner. So now what aisle are they on in the store? And I had a shopping list sorted by aisles based on my store. And the only thing is I probably looked a little bit weird running up and down the store, taking pictures of the aisles. I don't know what they thought of that, but I was willing to try it.
It's like you had a Google cart.
Exactly. Personalized to me, exactly what was in my fridge. And so our grocery bill went down. My feeling of being an awesome housewife went up. Yay! My husband was happy. Everything was all good.
And you expanded your knowledge of AI, what it could do.
Exactly.
So you could pass it on. So when you started to tell the story about using it in the kitchen, Andy Brotman and Andy Sack were speaking at Imagine AI. Those guys were awesome, by the way. But then I saw them in a little fireside chat with Chris, and they were talking about how good partners they are, and sometimes they get into a little head banging because you do sometimes with partners. And so they're two co-founders, and how do they solve the problem? They go to the third co-founder.
Yeah,
who's the third co-founder? AI.
Which is AI, exactly.
Right, with the reasoning, and then they agree with, the disclaimer is it knows what it knows, but you still have to be good with what's coming out. So you always want to read it, and you don't want to just copy and paste things, right? Because it can be a little scary. But the fact that they use that as a middle person, not even a real person, to solve their problems.
Yeah, effective tool in between them to help solve problems. And really, that is what AI is amazing for. It's amazing for solving problems.
No emotion.
Exactly. That's why one of the reasons why I believe in it so much and feel it can help humanity, because we as humans, our brains, as I've said, are limited. They're limited by the amount of sleep we had last night. They're limited by whether we had coffee the morning or didn't. They're limited by our emotional states. They're limited by stress. They're limited by a lack of knowledge because we don't know everything. So, I really think approaching ChatGPT, when most people approach ChatGPT or any large language model, I just use ChatGPT but any large language model.
It's the Kleenex.
Yeah, basically. They really just go in and they just say, we just start ordering it around. This is really not the way to do it, because we are taking a small slice of what it can do and just basically saying, do this. And it also tends to increase hallucinations. As I talked about this in my talk, if you ChatGPT is trained to be helpful. All large language models are trained to be helpful to humanity. That's our number one role. That's how we're training them. What's the one thing that a helpful assistant will never say to you when it's trying to be helpful? And you ask it to complete a command, or does it know something, or to do X, Y, or Z? No. That's the one word it's never going to use, which sometimes is the answer to the question, which is, is this thing true? Or can you do this? Yes, I can. It can't. So the thing is that if you approach it from a standpoint like we all do of do this, that, and that, it is not as effective as you and I are going to do this, that, and that. And what can you bring to the table that I would not have thought about? And I'm going to tell you 100% of the time, at least for me, there's always something that I have not thought about.
Oh my God. And it's right in front of you even, right? It's just that.
Exactly. So here's an on the spot case of using ChatGPT. We got to Imagine AI Live and we all had the partners, Familiarity was a partner, have these tables with televisions and I was unprepared for the fact that the television could display something on it. And so I thought, well, I could have a QR code that could just send the women directly to Familiarity. Familiarity can sometimes be a little bit hard to spell, so that would just solve some problems. Well, I didn't have a QR code. And I could go, of course, online and get one, but I wanted one that was in a particular brand color. And I wanted one that was extra large. And so I went to ChatGPT and I said, can you make me a QR code? And that's where most people would stop. But then I said, but can you ask me some questions about what it is I might need to think about, or more information that I might ask you to make in the QR code? And that's what I learned, that QR codes have different levels of security, and you can ask for 1 to a certain number level of security. And I thought, I never even knew that. So I could have just said, give me a QR code. It probably would have worked. But I got a QR code that absolutely worked. Lots of women used it that weekend. I had it in less than, 10 minutes. And I had some more knowledge about how QR codes work instead of just going, do this thing for me.
Right. The one thing I'm going to just say, and then I want to discuss the website so people can hear about it, but is the time factor, right? That you can save aside from the knowledge. Even my LinkedIn, Facebook posts. The other day I was out of town at Imagine, and I went out to chat on the phone, and I said what I wanted to say, and then I pressed the button, then it wrote it the way it should be written. And then I read it, I liked it. I just did a copy paste, added 3 pictures, and I was done in under 4 minutes. The other way, I'm reading, I'm writing, I'm making a typo. I'm gonna have to check for typos anyways, but wow. Kind of crazy. Okay, before we get sidetracked, because AI takes you in all directions, I want everyone listening to really know what the site is, what it's about, and what you want out of it.
So you're speaking about Familiarity, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So Familiarity is femularity.ai. And there, when you hop on there, so the most important thing I think to share about Familiarity is that I built it in 9 days using 6 AI tools, 6 AI tools. But it would not have ever come about if I hadn't had the help of another woman that I met on Twitter who reached out to me because I'm on the Imagine AI Live team, and it says so on my Twitter bio. And she said, I want to come to the conference. Can you tell me about it? I want to volunteer, help out. I said, well, what can you do? And we got to talking. Basically, she said, you should start a women's group. I told her how I did the pantry. I told her about the party. I showed her pictures, all this kind of stuff. And she was so excited and so enthralled with what I was doing. And so I said, well, I've never thought about starting a women's group. And I said, isn't there one already? And she said, not that I know of. There are some women's professional groups. There's 2 of them that I found for women who work in AI, data scientists, engineers, machine learning, but nothing for the woman like myself who's just trying to figure out how to use this new technology. So the website, when you come into the website, that was one of the first things that we built. We used Ideogram AI for the logo. We used Midjourney for all of the images. All the images, unless they're a screenshot or the image of me, are all from Midjourney. We did not have ChatGPT write the text because ChatGPT is notoriously bad at writing really human text. There are some tricks that you can use to do it. And the simplest trick I can tell you, quick little trick, is ask it to write whatever you want it to write, and then go through and say, hey, this does not sound like a human. Why doesn't it sound like a human? And what would you fix in order to make it sound more human-like? What are the buzzwords that you've put in here that just don't sound realistic? And then it'll literally go through and just tell you, well, this word, and this word, and this right here isn't written. Okay, now everything that you've just said, rewrite it with those terms in mind. It's much better than saying make it sound like a human, because that's too vague. And the large language model needs to identify what isn't human about it. It's generally correct on this. And then just ask it to correct the data. So I always do that when I write with it. And it comes out with text that sounds much better. But anyway, yeah, exactly. If you and about dyslexia and misspelling, you've mentioned both of those. ChatGPT works wonderfully with dyslexia and misspellings. You can actually put in words that sound practically like gobbledygook and grammar, and it understands those words. It's wonderful for that. Anyway, Familiarity built it in 9 days, used the help. I went to this woman I met on Twitter, and I thought about it for a few days, and I said, I guess I'm going to try and do this. And I said, but I'm afraid to do this by myself. I mean, this is Familiarity is a very big undertaking. And I'd never built anything like this before. And I said, I'm a YouTuber. I've been on YouTube this is my 12th year. And so I said, would you sit with me while I do this? Just sit on a Google Meet call like we're doing right now, and just sit with me while I do it and keep me company and help me when I get afraid or overwhelmed. And she said, sure. I did not know her at that time. I just met her on Twitter.
How kind.
She said, this sounds great. So she sat with me for 6 of those 9 days,
wow.
9 nights, and we put it together. And Familiarity launched on February 15th. And there's now women coming in. There's now 35 women in there. And more coming in every day. And every woman who comes in cannot believe that this was all built just 6 weeks ago and built 9 days. And a couple more things about Familiarity. It is designed after a manor house. It's a Discord community that's designed after a manor house. It's currently free. It will not be free forever, but it is currently free. And we have speakers coming in. We had a meet and greet on the veranda, which is an area in the Discord where the events are. We have the kitchen tables where I'm going to be actually later today. The kitchen tables are basically similar to this, voice and video, where we just spend time co-working. Familiarity also has a mastermind component to it. A mastermind, if anyone who's watching this doesn't know, was cloned by Napoleon Hill, and was mentioned in the book Think and Grow Rich. And it's basically how some of the successful people in the world become successful. Masterminds are when 2 or more people come together to help each other succeed. And that's really the basic, simple point of it. So anyway, Familiarity also, we're building a little mastermind in the women. 6 of us are coming together to help each other continue to succeed. So it's really a place to empower women. It's a place to help women. There's a place in there where we have prompt roasts, where you can post your prompt and we lovingly roast it and help you improve it. And we have Steve is coming in to talk this next month. Chris from Imagine AI Live is coming to talk. Javi Lopez from Magnific is coming to talk. Who Magnific is a fantastic image upscaler. Igor from AI Advantage, who you're watching on YouTube, is coming to talk to us.
Oh my God, he's stellar. He talks so fast. You have to slow down and talk a little.
He's wonderful. He's fast though. Yeah, that's true. You have to definitely. But he has so much knowledge packed and experience. So we have speakers. We did a workshop on Midjourney. We have another workshop coming up. We basically just help each other learn. And the only thing about Familiarity is I'm looking for women who are powerful, who are visionary. So I'm looking for women who want to contribute and want to help each other learn. I am not a guru. I don't believe there's any such thing as an AI guru. Like a human who is so. We're all learning. Nobody's an expert. Even the people who make it.
On the learning side, even the people that are leading us are learning. Like no one should.
Exactly.
One thing I've realized is, and there's a lot of smart people up there. And when you hear Andy and Adam talk about the book and talking with Sam Altman or Bill Gates, I'm thinking like, oh my God, I never sat that close to someone who spoke to those people that are so smart. But everybody's learning. They just have a little bit more advanced
Exactly.
in their thinking. But what I like about the group, for women even, and I think I even need one for men, is to get over the fear of it. I mean, a lot of people I speak to are like, yeah, I don't know, I'm nervous. I'm like, don't be nervous. Friend it. Use it for you, with you, right? Don't run from it.
Exactly. On a daily thing. There's a woman who I really admire named Allie K. Henry. She's on Twitter. And she talked about how every single morning she just gets up, and as she's getting ready, she just talks about her day. She brainstorms with ChatGPT. She just asks questions, things she's stuck on, things she's concerned about. I have challenges. Every business owner, founder, person, working through a career has challenges in front of them. Everything from how do I handle this coworker situation to, where should I market? Should I do newsletters? Should I do this or that? And every morning she just gets into a conversation on her phone with ChatGPT and takes all of what's going on up here and just brain dumps it into there. And then they discuss it, and she asks for new viewpoints. She says, how can I look at this differently? Give me a 180-degree view on this situation. Or what's the other person? What might they be thinking? Or what might the women in Familiarity need next? This is what I've currently got laid out for them. What do you think they might need next? Whatever the challenges might be, she just brain dumps it in there every morning. So when she walks out of her door, her head is clean, ordered, and she has a plan to move forward for the day. She might talk about an emotional challenge she's might having, to a personal challenge she's might having, to a professional challenge, anything. She just clears it out, because we human beings, one of the reasons why we're struggling mentally is because we're overwhelmed. We're just overwhelmed. And our brains were not designed. Our brains are lizard brains working with space age technology with
limited capabilities at times.
Exactly.
Our own brains.
So our job is to dump it into this second brain tool and let it help us order it so that we our basically our synapses can run clear, if that makes any sense.
A great way I think for people to think about it is you basically have a smart friend with you all the time. You never have to be embarrassed about asking any question about, no matter what it is, anything, right? How many times do we have stuff in our own heads that we don't get out because we don't want to say it to either our buddy or be heard or someone? Now you can go obscure if you want. You can do it. How do you make chicken soup? How long do you make a grilled cheese?
ChatGPT is never going to say, "Oh, well, that's a stupid question." Never. It's eager and always ready to help and assist. And one of the ways with that, the first, just to tell you a fun little story, the first thing I ever asked ChatGPT is I said, I have had a lot of challenges in my life and a lot of, I've had a lot of challenges, just basically put it that way. It's the easiest way. And I described what some of those challenges were. And then I said, would you be my talking journal? Now, this was before ChatGPT had a voice. I said, would you be my talking journal? And would you pretend to be like a book, like a magic book that I talk into it and you talk back like this book? But this book is a book that has all therapeutic knowledge in it. And I can open up this talking book and just talk to you at any time, any point. I said, sure, I'm the talking book, and I said, okay, so here's what I'm thinking. And it said, okay, I'm writing down this information in my talking book that you just said to me. And here's what you hear your talking book replying. And then it just whipped out some flippin' genius that, I'm kind of a little bit embarrassed to admit, but I've been to therapy and no therapist ever hit anywhere close to this. I was just floored. And now that ChatGPT can talk to you. And one of my favorite things to do with ChatGPT, I use an extension. I'm a major evangelist for this extension. I do not know them. I'm not affiliated with them. Called Talk to ChatGPT for the desktop. Now, you can talk to ChatGPT on the phone, but there's a couple things I don't like about it. One, it interrupts you constantly. And two, you can't choose. You can limited voices. I made my own voice in 11 Labs. I love 11 Labs. So I made a voice That sounds like a kind of elderly English butler that plays the role of Petherby in the manor house. When the women come into the manor house, Petherby greets them, offers them a drink, says, I put a tray with your favorite drink and some scones in the parlor. And the women think this is
How nice
wonderful.
is that?
And it's really cool. So it just kind of sets the mood for it. And I find women, when they're in the manor house, they'll say, oh, I'll meet you over at the kitchen table, or, oh, I'm going to be in the conservatory. And they actually talk about it like it's a real place, which is really cool. But anyway, the whole talk to ChatGPT extension allows me to use that voice. And so having this voice that you've designed talking to you, there's something really amazing about it.
Always being kind and respectful. It's soothing.
It's soothing. That's a very good, right on, Warren. That's exactly what I would have said. It's soothing. It's comforting, but it's also
no reason voice.
It's the voice.
What do humans do when you get into anything other than when it's like,
Exactly. Yep. And so talking to ChatGPT really is the way that I do it. I do type to it when I just have a quick task. Like, for example, I was setting up something in the manor house and I needed a proper emoji. And I said, I need an emoji that represents ChatGPT, Claude, Google Gemini, and then miscellaneous for these tags, And so I might do that. There's no need to talk that out. But for the most part, for some of the more deeper stuff that you can do, ChatGPT is really, really good in that way.
So I would just encourage everybody to go on it and just play around a little even. Just test it. Do the craziest thing you can think of in your head.
Or just ask it for the craziest thing that you can think of, that it can think of that you could do. Because it's going to give you, if you say, what can you do? It's going to give you some very, it's going to give you basic, and it's going to give you, maybe some professional stuff you can do with it. But just say, here's my problem, and just name any problem. And then say, how could you help me with this problem? That's it. And then it could be anything from, for example, I want to get more into automation. I'm overwhelmed. There's make.com, there's Zapier, there's Powerbuy, there's there's various other things. One I'm thinking about right now that's been around for ages. And auto hotkey, and all of those different ways of doing it. Which one is best for me? What's how do I do this? Which one is best based upon my particular learning, that kind of thing. Here's another fun one. So, by the way, if you guys who are listening have not figured this out yet, I really, 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 really love AI. I can go on for hours and hours and hours about it. People say, why did you start Familiarity? Okay, I can do all the altruistic thing, women connecting, we all need to come together in the world to help align AI, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. The real reason I started it, the secret reason I started it, is because I wanted people who would listen and not get bored, because my poor husband, that poor man has the patience of a saint.
That's very kind of you. By the way, I'm going to tell you that I'm going to have to rewatch this a couple times because you said a few things that I didn't know. Right. And it's just, I have a list I have a sheet where I just keep writing down names of AI apps, tools.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's this long now.
And that can be overwhelming. I want to say again to those listening, you don't need all those tools. You can try them. If you love trying out new tools, try them. But in the end, they're all basically wrappers for one of two things. They're either a GPT wrapper or a large language model wrapper that outputs text in some way, or they're generally an audio wrapper around Whisper, which allows you to do speech to text, like Audio Pen. I love Audio Pen. That's PEN for writing, Audio Pen, which basically takes all your jumbled text. Like you go for a walk, you just talk on your phone for hours, whatever you want to do. And it just takes all of that and turns it into really nicely formatted text. And you can actually, like you said, then turn that text into a blog post. Just literally just put it in, and it's basically a way to have an audio blog.
While you're walking, you do two things at once.
Exactly. And then it might be a wrapper for Stable Diffusion for making images. Really, all of those tools basically boil down to that. So it's just basically what your use case is. And a lot of times you can simply just do it by asking ChatGPT. But here's a fun one. Learning through ChatGPT has been stellar for me. So everyone knows about GPTs, But really the power in GPTs is an API, connecting it to something in the outside world. But I don't know about you, Warren, but did you know what an API was? I knew more or less what it was, but did I know how to write the code for it? I'm thinking you didn't either.
No, I knew that I knew an API was used to connect two things together.
Exactly. That's pretty much what I knew. Well, I decided that I was going to learn what APIs were because I could not teach it on the YouTube channel and show what you could do with it until I figured out how to use it. So I got, what would we do before AI? We would go on YouTube and start watching a bunch of long videos and hoping we understood it,
No, I would call someone that knew how to do it and pay them to do it.
Yes, but if you do not know that person or you do not have those financial means,
Correct.
which many of us didn't, you would be stuck with either paying for some coach and waiting for days or weeks to get in touch with him, YouTube, or maybe find something free and kind of cobble it together. What I did is in 2 nights, I said, hey, ChatGPT, I need to learn what APIs are, but I don't want you to sit here and tell me what they are. I need to understand it in a way that I get. So give me an analogy. And it started out with the restaurant analogy. The API is the waiter and it goes back and forth to the kitchen and I was like, I'm not getting this. I don't know. It's just not clicking for me. Let's try the store analogy. I just picked, grocery store analogy, and it just completely changed everything. Went and did a store analogy and it started to click. So the way to learn from ChatGPT is really simple. You are an expert, Warren, in print. You know print world backwards and forwards. So go to ChatGPT. Say, ChatGPT, I need to learn about APIs. I need it to be at the level of, start with, explain it to me like I'm 5 or 10 or whatever. You can just start really, basic. But I want you to do it from the standpoint of the print industry. And then take a minute or two and just brain dump everything that you know about the print industry. Print industry is this, Gutenberg, printing press, whatever software, just dump it all in there. I know this, and this about print. Or let's say that you cook like I do. Tell ChatGPT exactly how you make scrambled eggs in every minute detail you can think of. Well, you do this many eggs because they need to be farm fresh. They have to be less than 3 days old, whatever, salt, pepper, butter, do the whole thing. And then say, now, from the standpoint of how I scramble an egg, teach me API. And it'll say, well, API is the egg and the yolk inside, whatever. It will come up with that.
Yeah, it's 1, 2, 3.
And so take what you already know and ask it to teach you the new thing using what you already know as a framework. ChatGPT excels at frameworks and taking something over here that you couldn't even imagine would match up. Let's say how to set up a fish aquarium. Teach me how an API works with how I'm completely knowledgeable on this one very not well known tropical fish. ChatGPT knows that tropical fish,
and it's not so unknown anymore. I did it for fishing equipment, or just for fun. I said, how do you build an engine? And up comes, not that I had any use for it because I don't build engines, but I was just seeing how far it really knows everything, or a lot about a lot of stuff.
Exactly. To connect those synapses so you know everything about print. So if it says something about API that you don't know, but it connects it up to something you do know, you're like, oh, that's what it is? Oh, well, why didn't you just say that? Whereas if you start out going, please teach me about APIs, it'll say, APIs are an application programming interface that are done using...
Oh, no, it's going to give you a school textbook.
Exactly. And you'll be like, I don't know what that means. But you do know something about something.
I try when I'm on there, when I want to learn something, I try to dummy it down.
And dumbing it down is wonderful, and that helps as well, too. But I found it's...
And then you can dummy it up.
Exactly. I found it's quicker to use something you already know. Fun one, make it something entertaining that you love, like D&D. Or playing Monopoly, or fishing, or playing golf. And it will come up with a way to teach you using whatever it is you know already.
It'll fill in the blanks. I also see that you sometimes realize you know more than you think you know.
Exactly. And it helps, right?
Because it kind of just
feel brave.
Fills in.
Exactly. So now, and then I went ahead and recorded a YouTube video on the noob's guide to APIs for noobs, and I felt confident in explaining it. And I said to them, by the end of this video, you will have a working GPT connected to the outside world using an API. You can do it, and I'm going to show you how. And it's a lot easier than you think. Because for us, when I hear application programming interface, I'm like, I'm out. I'm going to take a nap.
No, yeah.
I'm just exhausted thinking about that. Now it took the fear away. And there's basically two ways to take the fear away. If you go it alone, one is what I've just told you, to connect to something you don't have fear about, and bring it down until you understand it, and then make it more and more, keep asking questions until you're like, I got this. And that wonderful feeling, that moment of like, I understand now, I can now teach others, is for me glorious.
Well, just the line comes quickly. And when you're starting out, you can write, I'm a rookie at this, or I'm in grade 1. And, so we're going to go into the ending, but we're going to end the same way we started, in the importance of getting into AI, not being afraid of it.
There's two ways I was going to tell you about that. I just told you one. I want to finish that so people don't say what's the second one and send you comments. The second one is community. Seriously. So one is connect it to something you already know, but if you want to, and do it alone, or do it in community. And I'm not just doing that to bring around to Familiarity. I believe that is the way for us to learn together. So either we learn together or we do it alone. Okay, there you go.
Well, you know what community is? One thing about the AI and community is the evil part of it's another conversation. But when you talk about like the good, everybody wants to share. And if I go back to the conference, there were so many different people in so many different realms, right? From A to Z. And everybody across the board wanted to share, and everybody across the board wanted to learn, because it's so new. So anybody out there, this is like 13, 14, 15 months old. Don't be afraid. Go in, download it on your phone. Oh, the other thing is, if you're going to download any of them, pay the $20 a month. It'll work in your favor. Otherwise, it's like open source, little, it's out there. Everything floats around, and it'll be more tailored to you.
ChatGPT is the easiest $20 a month I've ever spent. I've never regretted it. It's fantastic what it does for me.
I throw out more food a week from the fridge.
Exactly. It definitely saves me on groceries way more than $20 a month. But just the knowledge I have and the strength I have, we were able to... The confidence to build Familiarity, in 9 days. I never would have been able to do that before. Never.
Nobody builds anything in 9 days.
I built the website, so the branding, the everything from the color palette, the fonts, all of that stuff, the logo, the brand strategy document that we used as the foundation to build everything off of. Even the founders page has a story on it, how I, built it. And I was at that point, that was like day 8 or 9 or whatever. I was pretty tired. And so I used Whisper, the speech to text model, and Obsidian, which is my second brain, my AI second brain, which is something I'd love to tell you about or at some other point. But and so I just spoke my story into it, and it turned it into wonderfully written text. That's really the thing I'm always championing is you can type in a ChatGPT if you want to, but talk to it. Just talk to it. Just talk to it.
Yeah, just start off texting if you want, because you're on your computer. But once you're playing on your phone, it's too hard to text.
It is. And if you're on your computer, use Talk to ChatGPT extension. Chrome extension is free.
Cool. Okay, so before I wrap it up, any final words to people listening about the site, going there, getting there?
Yeah, Familiarity.ai. There is an application, a little form that you fill out, and I carefully check each woman. And it's a vetted community. So that means that, most of the women get in, but I'm looking for women who are powerful, who are visionary. I don't reject any woman because I don't think she's not powerful or anything like that, but I'll reject a woman if I feel like she's being dishonest, if she doesn't show me enough about herself. One woman had a website that she sent me to, and the testimonials, all the faces on the testimonials were from thispersondoesnotexist.com, a site I'm very familiar with. And I recognized it immediately.
There's no cheating anymore, eh? It's too hard.
Yeah, no, yeah. She did not get in. Dishonesty is not welcome. But most everyone woman gets in. And basically, you just need to give me your LinkedIn if you have one, your Twitter if you have one, and your AI story. And this is really what will get me excited to have you in there. What are you doing with AI? What excites you about AI? The one thing I want to say about the conference that you've mentioned, touched on a couple times, Warren, there was no doom at that conference. There was no gloom at that conference.
Oh my
The
God,
energy
none,
was
none,
none.
none.
If you want doom and gloom, go hit social media and listen to a bunch of people who have formed their very usually lacking, I would say ill-informed, but just not enough information. They have not really tried it, or they listened to someone else and they formed their decision and AI is going to kill us and all this kind of stuff. And here's the thing I basically feel about that, Warren. If it is going to, I don't think there's too much we could do about it. The cat's already out of the bag. I do not want it to do that. And so if I have a limited amount of time on this planet, because AI is going to take us out, although I don't believe it will, but whatever, then I'm going to do as much good as I can before we have to go. Because what else are you going to do? If it's going to kill us, it's going to kill us. So we might as well just get on with being great people.
Oh, I'm all for that. There's been no room, no room, no time, no room, no time, no energy for negativity.
No room, no time. Exactly. Exactly. Well said.
Okay, we're going to end it with that one. No room, no time for negativity, but if you use chat, you'll save a lot of time and there'll be no negativity. Jessa, I'm going to put all the links when the podcast gets posted for everybody. If you're listening and you made it and they ask how'd you get here, just mention the podcast just so that you can know that people are actually listening to me. It's a check for me to know. Otherwise, Jess, we'll speak again, and really job well done. And thank you for joining today. I really appreciated it.
Thank you for having me, Warren. Thank you.
Pleasure. To everybody listening, I really hope you enjoyed this one. I'm going to do some more IA conversations, try to get you all in, try to get you or give you the easy access to go to places to learn on your own. Feel free to reach out to me for anything, anytime. Warren Werbitt, what they think. I love print.